Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome on this lovely February 23rd. Depending on the course where you are, hopefully you are all safe and sound. I know a lot on the East Coast are getting pummeled with snow right now. Here in Ohio, I think we're pretty lucky. I think we've only got about 6 inches. Scooter, how much you got where you're at?
Well, up here near Philly, Wilmington area, we got about six, I'd say totally. But yeah, just down in the Rehoboth Beach area, Lewis, my parents are down there, and I was down there yesterday. Drove up before the storm got in. They got 20 inches. My parents have been without power since 2 a.m. They're fine. They got fireplaces and all that. But it's just like they're not going to clear that out for a while because I
No.
mean it took 2 weeks up here in Wilmington for the streets to be completely clean from the last storm we had. Now, I mean, it wasn't as big here that they were expecting 18 inches. We got like six. So that coast, like Jersey, got hammered too.
Yeah, that I know. I know it's bad everywhere, on the East Coast side. So if you don't have to go anywhere, don't let the crews do what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
Let them get the roads cleared off and stuff like that. Obviously, if you do have to go, for work or for whatever reasons, please be safe in your travels. Anthony was early on the ball on this one. He's already checking in, so he's saying hi. He's got some more comments in here, Anthony. Just hold tight on those. I'm going to wait till we are going to, of course, talk about the gold medal games for sure. But we'll get to that at the right point in time. But it seems, well, before we can get into that here, let me, of course, first, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and now we are on X. 24/7. You can watch us on YouTube. Lots of cool features there. And you can also listen to us the next day on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, and Castbox. So you can, listen to Drive Time while you're driving. So that's the way to go if you have to. Of course, we'd rather you just watch us live. But I know 5 o'clock, sometimes that's not always easy. So we're starting this show, and unfortunately, it seems like we've been having to do this a lot more lately, and I don't know why that is, but we do have a couple of rest in peace to go over here. This one is really sad. You guys know how I end every show with, make sure that you tell your loved ones that you love them and you hug them because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And this one is really, really sad. Rondell Moore, only 25, appears to have taken his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That investigation is not finalized yet, so I don't want to speculate any further on that. Kind of had a career game played for Purdue, had the career game where he goes for the 170, 12 catches, 2 touchdowns. Back in 2018 when they upset Ohio State, never really got a chance to get rolling in the NFL career. Just injuries have always seemed to be in the way for him. So I don't know, who knows where unfortunately it was, but it's just sad whenever you see a 25-year-old and it looks like they took their life. It just breaks my heart knowing that there are still people out there that just need help. They need help, and sometimes people are afraid to ask for it, or they do ask for it and they don't get it, and it's just a shame.
Yeah, it really is a real young fella. He was a really good athlete. I mean, like you said, in Purdue, he was a Bolitnikoff winner. He was an All-American. He was a second-round draft pick by the Arizona Cardinals. So he was really good. He had a really good first year with Arizona. The second year, there were little injuries here and there, but he actually rushed like 38 times for like 175 yards. So they started putting him in rushing. But then all of a sudden, he got traded for Desmond Ridder, the quarterback. So he went to Atlanta, where he just like before, as preseason was just beginning, he got injured for the rest of the year, and then the next year he signs on with the Vikings, and he got injured in like the first preseason game for the rest of the season. So it was a tough draw for him, and it's sad. I don't know anything about his background. Other than like as a player. So obviously this is going to hurt his family big time. So hard
Yeah.
to do this one.
Agree for sure. And then one that was a little bit, for old school folks like you and me that would remember him as a baseball player. Bill Mazeroski passed away. 260 career batting average, 2016 hits, had 138 home runs. He played his entire career for the Pittsburgh Pirates from 56 to 72. Also a pretty damn good defender. Had a career fielding percentage of 983. But of course, he's best known for the Game 7 home run that defeated the New York Yankees. It was actually at the time the first walk-off homer in Major League Baseball history back in 1960. Probably one of the most iconic home run calls. It's it's right up there, I think, as one of them for sure. So Bill Mazeroski passed away as well. This one is at least typical older age gentleman, so you can kind of accept this one a little bit more. But one of the greats, and definitely one of the great baseball calls of all time, when with the home run call against the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, he is a god out in Pittsburgh, as he should be. Playing all those years out in Pittsburgh, second base. He actually in 1960 and I think in 72, he and Roberto Clemente, they're the only players to win the World Series on both of those teams. So they were on the Pirates along. So he was obviously really close with Roberto. He was also such a great defensive second baseman, as you said, that he broke all these records. And to only have all his records that he broke broken by who's on the Reds, Joe Morgan.
Yes.
So that and obviously Bill Mazeroski is a Hall of Famer. He didn't have a huge amount of home runs, but he finished his career out second all-time leader in home runs at second base, which is saying something. And I forgot who it was. One of the all-time greats that was just a step ahead of me. I'm not getting the name right now. But here's the thing about it, too. He played at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, and that place was around for like 60, 70 years almost. And their center field was 456 feet. I mean, the fact that, you're hitting home runs and then it came in to like 407 down about 375 on the corners. But, 400 and what, I mean, the fact that you're hitting home runs in that ballpark, that's unbelievable. So, yeah, the Major League Baseball lost a really good one. Mazeroski, that's the greatest call. It's also called one of the top 10 greatest sports moments in the history of sports. And
I'd put it up there.
Did you? Okay, cool. And it's still the only walk-off Game 7 home run in World Series history.
Yeah, it's just it's a good call. I wonder, you go with him or Clement. I don't know which one for Pirates history lore, which one holds more. I don't know. It's probably a tough call. I'm not a true Pirates fan, but yeah, those are probably the two all-time greats for sure. I mean, you got some recent ones too, of course, from the We Are Family group and everything like that. Yeah. But I think it's probably Mazeroski and Clement are probably 1A and 1B. And you can make your arguments for whichever way you want to go. But yeah, it's definitely sad. So let's do this. We're
out there. Let us know.
Yeah, for sure. If there are any Pirates fans, throw in the comments if you're putting Maz one or if you're putting Clemente one. I couldn't argue with either one of them. If you would, whichever one you want to put one and you want to put the other one too, I'm okay with. Or there's I'm sure there's probably some Barry Bonds, and I can't really argue with that one either. So for Pirates all times, that could be a fun list to do for when we get to our baseball show later on. So let's do this. We're going to do a quick reset because it's hard to always go from this. So we'll use a commercial break here to get us ready, and then we will start diving into some of the other sports news. We'll be right back. All right, so we are back with this quick little segment. Before we get into the Olympic stuff, it's going to be a quick little pit stop. Just a couple of news and notes here that I saw. Nothing really crazy went on today, which is good. The Falcons placed the franchise tag on their tight end Pitts, which I found interesting to see. So we'll see how that goes for them. So that's one little bit that I didn't get to put into the agenda here. So any surprise on Pitts getting the franchise tag in Pittsburgh or in Atlanta?
Yeah, right. With Pitts in Atlanta. I mean, no, I guess I wasn't expecting it. It's probably the best way to say it, but it makes sense, now that maybe the quarterback situation is a little jumbled up. So you really want to have a good tight end to be that. You don't know who the quarterback is really going to be next year. It could be Cousins. It's definitely in what's his face who tore his knee up. I can't. Why am I slipping on his name at the moment? Michael Penix. Yeah. So you just don't know who it is, and you really want to have a good tight end that's gonna, be a really safety valve there. So it makes sense. I was kind of hoping he might get into the Washington fray, but that's cool. I get it.
Yeah. Showtime checking in. She wasn't able to join us today because she's supposed to be working. But she said, "Did I cut out my Eric Dane?" I did because I didn't. I honestly never watched Grey's Anatomy or anything like that, and it's kind of wasn't a sports related one. I was going to let you have it because you're part of the show, so you get to do a rest in peace that you want. So when you're back on Showtime, if you still want to do a little Eric Dane rest in peace, we'll let you do it. But that's going to be your thing for sure. Unless Scooter's got some Eric Dane love out there, which I did not.
I didn't know. The fact of the matter is he's right around our age, and
Right.
so it's ALS that really hits hard, and it's Lou Gehrig's disease. So those are one of those things that kind of brings it into sports because ALS is a big deal. A lot of people, I've had friends afflicted with it and had they died in their 40s. So it sucks. It hurts their family. So
Pete is saying hi.
hey.
He wants to be part of the show again today. Yeah, I agree. So what Showtime, we'll let you have that when you're back on. So I had to talk, of course, about my love for Kent State and the MAC. Sacramento State is joining the MAC in football. It's a 5-year contract. I get it. For the MAC, Sacramento State, I don't know who in their alumni association has money, but clearly their alums have money because they wanted to make the move into the FBS. So they're doing that by joining the MAC. They are going to be paying every MAC school that goes out there. They're paying for their flights to go out there because I was kind of curious how that was going to work. So Sacramento State's going to be paying for them to go out there. Northern Illinois is leaving the MAC, so it adds another school in. For those that aren't familiar with MAC football, you can see a lot of their games because they are known during the middle season once it really gets going for their Tuesday, Wednesday night MACtion on ESPN and CBS Sports. I just think it's going to be a brutal road trip for a Tuesday 5 o'clock start game in Sacramento for these kids. But they don't really care about the kids anyway. So it'll be interesting to see. One of the great little bits I saw out there on Twitter is because you have Sacramento State and you have Ball State, and so you could have the Sac Ball Bowl, being sponsored by Dick's Sports. Like that was a great one, or the Ball Sack Bowl is what they're calling it. So there could be some fun with this, which I can appreciate for sure. But it's just interesting for sure.
I did want to add, go back to that real quick about free agent, or excuse me, not free agency, but franchise tags. So there are reports that George Pickens is going to get tagged by the Cowboys, and that's just, I mean, that could be a nightmare. I mean, Pickens is, again, we'll go back to what Pittsburgh. He was kind of a nightmare in Pittsburgh. Now he's going to get tagged, and he can't. He probably wants to be a free agent. Now he's going to get a lot of money. So there's that. But this should be interesting.
Yeah, I agree that is going to be interesting. Anthony checking in. Did you see also reports that North Dakota State are following North Dakota into the mountain? Yeah, I'm sure all these schools are going to want to be making the jump in, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out with who jumps where, who goes in the Mountain West, who goes in. I know that the Pac-10's adding schools again too, so we'll see. I mean, all this shuffling, of course, is going to keep on happening until either it's done shuffling or I still think you're going to see this big power 20 or 30 go off and form their own conference thing, and then you'll have everyone else, and you'll have two quote unquote probably national championships for these schools because they're not going to be able to keep up with the big name schools for sure. So, but speaking of my love for the MAC, I just got to give it up to this team because this team is getting dissed everywhere on everything. The Miami of Ohio Redhawks are now 27-0. They have 4 games left in the regular season. The only one that they likely have a chance of losing is going to be against against Ohio University, just because they've always struggled in that building. But there's still a lot of talk of where they may get into the tournament if they lose a game that they could be out. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, I get it. If you look at their schedule, they have not played anybody tough. But in fairness to Miami of Ohio, the top MAC schools, they can't get the big boy programs to play them. Nobody will play the Kent States. Nobody will play the Akrons. Nobody will play the Ohio Universities. Nobody will play the Miami of Ohio's because they're all afraid of getting the L against those teams because they know that they're good teams. So they have to take what games they can to fill the rest of their schedule. That's why the MAC has even gone through with doing this thing with the Sun Belt Conference, where they do a beginning game where they play against each other. The top team will play the top team from each conference based off of where they finished last year. And then mid-season, they see where everybody's at and they do a second game, and one team hosts, the other one does. They're just trying to build up that thing. But they can't help it when you can't get people to schedule. And I'm sorry, if this team runs the table and loses to a good Akron team, who Akron's only lost one game in the MAC, they've only lost 4 games overall. When they played earlier this season, Miami of Ohio did beat them, but in Cleveland, I could clearly see Akron, who will have a slight home court advantage if they're playing in Cleveland, because Akron's only about 40 minutes down the road. Beating Miami of Ohio. And if Miami of Ohio's only losses in the MAC tournament final, they deserve to be in the tournament. I'm sorry. You only lose one game. Like, we don't need to see an Auburn with 17,000 losses or however the hell many losses they're going to have, or we'll pick whatever other goddamn team that finishes 5th or 8th place in one of these power conferences get in. I'm sorry. This kind of turned into a grind my gears. I didn't think it was going to be a grind my gears, but it's turned into that. So, like, just stop it. Miami of Ohio deserves to be in the goddamn tournament, and that's where I'll leave it.
I mean, I can't disagree with you. In fact, I mean, they're getting some love. They're 21st in the top 25, and they're 25th in the coaches poll. So they're getting a little love. It's hard to get up there against the Michigan States and Nebraskas and UConns and Dukes. But 27-0, you play who you play, and yeah, I mean, I expect them to go sweep the whole thing. But if they lose the conference championship game, they should easily be like a 10th seed.
Yeah, I think they should be a 10.
If they win the conference championship,
maybe
they go undefeated, I think they could be like a 5th rated team.
I don't think that they'll get a 5. I'd love to see them get a 5. I just the MAC is, and I don't get why the MAC, because the MAC schools have done well in the tournament. Like, they've had teams, they've had, like, OU's went on a run. Kent State went on that run a few years back. Like, they've won those early round games. So you think that would help them, but it doesn't for whatever reason. So I'd be shocked if they got a 5 if they go undefeated. I'd be happy with an 8 or 9, but I still, they might only get a 10 either way, maybe a 9. I think, yeah, we'll just see, but it doesn't sound good. But
with that, if they get in, which they should get in, but if they get in, I do hope they get. I don't know where all the games will be played, but I hope they do put them in a bracket that takes them in or near Ohio.
Well, the rumor is that they might be in that play-in game where they would get, like, an Ohio State has the 11th seed, and that could be a first in and Dayton, which would be, you got Miami of Ohio playing Ohio State in Dayton.
Yeah,
I could be okay with that.
I mean, those are like great, the story there. But I think Miami of Ohio right now deserves better than the play-in game.
Yeah, I hear you, Anthony. But I'm sorry. You go undefeated, and look, the MAC is not an easy conference to go undefeated in. It just isn't. It just isn't. I get it's not. It's all these schools are pretty decent with basketball, and especially the top of it to beat the Akrons and the Kent States, and to beat the Ohio universities. Like, these are all really good basketball schools that do make runs. So I think they should be in the top 25. So we'll leave it at that. All right. Any other quick little notes or anything like that before we start our Olympic road trip, Scooter?
No, got you covered. We're good.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We will get into the gold medal games. Of course, I want to say that because it's going to be a perfect segue into our NHL finish here. So the closing ceremonies were last night, so we are officially done. It's good. I thought it was a neat little closing ceremony. They're always fun. So our next Olympics will be the summer in 2028 when we are in La La Land in LA. And then the next Winter Olympics, of course, in 2030 are in the French Alps. So that's kind of what's upcoming as far as the Olympics go. This is the final medal count. The USA ended up doing pretty good. They had the most gold medals that they've ever had in the Winter Olympics. This is the 4th straight Olympics where the women out-medaled the guys as far as U.S. athletes go. But we did pretty good. I mean, Norway's always up top because they just crush the cross country skiing events. They just win them all. Italy, I think they had a really good show too, which is not uncommon for the host nation to get that little bit of a bump. But the top 5, I don't think is really any surprise to anyone. 29 total countries had at least one athlete win a medal, so I thought that was pretty cool too. That's the highest amount of countries that have won a winner medal. Anything on the medal counts?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the Netherlands had any players, people from Curacao or the Caribbean in the Winter Games, so that would be interesting. But I know we had the bobsled from Jamaica. So good to have him back. It was
I don't
awesome.
know. I meant to look to see how they did, and I didn't even think about it then after once we got once it got going.
Right.
So I'm sure I'm going to botch this guy's name, but he does deserve a shout out. Johannes Hosflat Klabo. He won 6 gold medals in this Olympics. So he is the won the most ever in a single Olympics. He now has the most gold medals on the winner side. He is still well behind a guy named Michael Phelps for most gold medals overall at 23. But still, he is the king of cross country skiing. He won 6 different events. Just and a lot of them weren't even close. This guy is just a machine when it comes to cross country skiing. It's just crazy what he can do.
Yeah, so it's a Norway. I mean, there's a reason why they win all the they're the top medal count. But an interesting thing is Norway, with all their cross country they're doing. My grandfather back in World War II, he was in Greenland preparing to go to Europe to fight the Germans and Nazis, and so he was training to ski, cross country ski with all his weaponry and everything like that, because they were thinking of doing an invasion in Norway initially before all the
Mhm.
D-Days, before Normandy. Then they cut that off and then they changed everything up. But I mean, seriously, they take all that stuff to heart in Norway.
Yeah, they do. It. I saw it. They did a little piece on him, and it's like It's not really like they start training him, but they just like the kids are just constantly outside doing activities.
Mhm.
From the time that they're really small. So, which I think is a pretty smart idea. It's a way to keep maybe kids off of tablets and stuff, making them go out and like find something to do. So,
Have
whatever it
fun
is,
outside.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, this was pretty cool stories. It kind of was in the first week of the Olympics. Corey Thies won. She's the first U.S. female to win a curling medal. She won it with the mixed doubles combined with Corey Dropkin. They finished and won the silver medal. The U.S. women's team came close to winning their first team medal, and on the curling side, they lost in the bronze medal game to Canada. But so they finished fourth in that. But still, a good curling showing on the ladies' side, which was good to see on a sport that normally we don't do well. The men kind of they started off really strong, but fizzled a little bit. But it was good to see the ladies do well.
So it was cool with because I've always made jokes about, hey, I'm under 60 years old. I still have a chance to make the Olympics curling. So the Americans had their oldest U.S. athlete ever, an attorney, a 54-year-old attorney named Rich Ruhonen, and he was 54 years old and he was on the curling team. So God bless him. That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
they let it. They actually, he
He's
wasn't.
older than me.
They let him actually throw a rock because they were in a match that they weren't doing well, just so he could set that record, which I thought was
Right.
pretty cool. So, uh, and speaking of older ladies, Alana Myers Taylor finally gets her gold medal. She's been the most decorated bobsledder on the U.S. side, but she had not won gold. She had won 2 silver and 3 bronze in the monobob, which is crazy. It's just one person going down the hill in a bobsled, but she won the gold medal on that side of it. So I was happy for her. They did a little special on her. She's got 2 deaf children, so she does sign language with both of them. So you see her coming down the hill, and then she finds her kid, and she signs to them. I won the gold medal, which was that got me. I love those type of moments out there.
Yes, you do.
I do.
It is awesome.
I'm a suck. I'm a sucker. What can I say? Mikkel Schifrin gets a little bit of revenge. She struggled 4 years ago. She got her gold medal in the slalom, and she really dominated in an event that normally the winner is by a half second or less. She won this thing by a full second, which is crazy to think about. I'm always amazed in some of these sports. So if they go down at 4 times, like on the bobsled, and the winner can be by like 0.005 of a second, can be the difference between gold and silver. It's just crazy, like how little time there is, for a difference between an athlete winning gold and finishing 10th in some of these events, where it's not judged, it's just straight timing. So I was really happy for her because I think she got that demon off of her back.
The bobsleigh. Yeah, good for her. That was awesome. That was
Yep.
another great story.
Jordan Stoltz, the speed skater, he won 3 medals. He was going for a fourth, finished just missed it by finishing fourth, but he still wins 2 gold and 1 silver. So he had a pretty good showing in his Olympics as well. I think he was hoping to win 4 golds, but he got kind of a surprise, and I think it was the 500 km one. Some guy set an Olympic record. I mean, what can you do? If somebody sets an Olympic record, that's going to happen to you. So, but he had a good showing as well. And then I really want to give a shout to our figure skating team. I know Ilya had the struggles in the men's program where he fell, finished eighth, but he could have pouted, he could have blamed whatever he wanted to blame, but he didn't. He said, "Look, I wasn't good enough," and then he stayed and he supported the women. Like that's what you want to see. Like I think what makes an athlete is not necessarily how you do when you win, but how do you handle self when you lose. And I think he did a tremendous job, in that regards. And I think the world is his stage in 4 years. He's only 21. He'll be back in 4 years, and I think he's going to probably be the favorite unless something really, really goes crazy. On the ladies' side, Amber Glenn, a lot of people try to keep the political side out of it, but very pro LGBTQ person, and people were happy that she didn't do well in her short skate. But she comes back with probably one of the best free skates I've ever seen. She moved from 12th to 5th. She was first on the podium there for a while, hugging everybody, giving everybody support. And then when Alyssa Liu won it, like she was right there cheering her on, helping her, like, and and then even when Alyssa won, like she's hugging the little Japanese girl who finished third. I can't remember her name, but she didn't realize at first that she finished third, and she's like, "No, you won. You're in third place. You're getting a medal." And they're sitting there and they're jumping up and down together. It's like that's what it's all about. That's what the Olympics are supposed to be about. So I was happy with them. It always good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got. We were introduced, really, if you will, those two great figure skaters. Alyssa Lewis, she's. I mean, if there's one thing that comes out of these Olympics, it's always America's sweetheart is always in the Olympics. They always do that.
Yep.
Nancy Kerrigan, it's always a thing. And this Alyssa Liu, I mean, she's outstanding, and she lives up to who the sweetheart role. And I mean, she's
Her
wonderful.
personality is just so great. Like, it's like you could just tell like she just was enjoying herself. Like
Yeah.
that's what you want. Vic with a couple comments, watching her kids after was amazing. That's talking about Alana Myers, which I agree with. Anthony says he did make up for it by winning the gold medal for team skate. Yeah, he did. I mean, he got the gold in that, and that's what I mean. Like and that was actually before he skated in the men's program. But like I got nothing but respect, and even the little they did like this, where they let everybody go back and kind of do a skate where it's not being judged, it's just for fun. He nailed that. I like the idea of the skate where he was just talking about like living into your demons and people's things. So I really do like Ilya. I think he's going to do well in 4 years for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's kind of like on that Scott Hamilton kind of, like in 30 years he'll be in front of the TV announcing the Olympics. That's one of those kind of things. So he's got a great future. He's a really good kid.
And hey, shout out to NBC and the ratings, the best since 2014. We'll get into some of the hockey ratings here in a little bit, but NBC could not have asked for better. I'm sure the time zone difference helps because it's only 6 hours. So if you want to watch these events live, it's much easier to do because they're on, like they usually start. Yes, there was some stuff that started at 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that, but for the most part, you could watch the events live, with Peacock and not have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think that helps, but I also think they did a good job on their prime time, specials of showing the highlights of the day and keeping that. And Mike Tirico is just fantastic in his job over there. He did an amazing job. So shout out to NBC. They put together a really good program for 2 weeks.
Yeah, they did great. Tirico's always great. I thought we're going to get into it, but I thought, everything they did with hockey was amazing. I mean, that was just great. So.
Yeah, Anthony puts, when I look at him, he reminds me of Boitano in terms of the way he skates. Yeah, there's a little bit of Brian Boitano. But like maybe Brian Boitano on steroids. Not that he is actually on steroids, but just like the quads that he can do that nobody else can do, and that backflip. I mean, when he does that damn backflip, I'm like, you got me, dude. Like that's just, I could watch him skate all day long for sure. So, all right, anything else on the Olympic?
Picking up Brian Boitano, he was a great skater back in the day.
He was. I agree 100%. So anything else on the overall Olympics before we get into what I'm sure a lot of people are waiting to hear, our take on the hockey stuff?
Again, I thought my favorite part of the entire Olympics, besides the gold medals for the men's and women's hockey teams, was watching that dog run along with the skiers. That was awesome.
Yeah,
And
we had the dog, and there was there was another. I thought there was another animal that got involved in it too on one of the courses. I can't remember which one it was. I think there was a moose or something that got onto the was on the ski slope at one point in time. So yeah,
yeah, no,
shout out, and the Polish pierogi, that their little the pierogi guy that caught on, and of course the doll that all the athletes got is kind of interesting watching the Canadian hockey team get their little doll. They did not seem to be too thrilled about getting that thing, which is kind of funny. So, all right. So we're not done with the Olympics yet. We're gonna get into the women's gold medal game and the men's gold medal games. But before we do that, let's take a quick break. All right, we are back. So let's get into this here. Let's first go with the women's side of things here. The bronze medal was won by Switzerland. They took out Sweden. That was a pretty good game as well. That was another overtime one as well that Switzerland won in the OT on a pretty goal as well. So congrats to Switzerland. They took out a Sweden team that had a pretty good tournament. They won the Group B round, so they'll probably end up being in that Group A whenever they do this again in 4 years, depending on how things go. But that's a young Sweden team. They've got a lot of college kids on that team as far as they're playing college hockey in the U.S. So don't be surprised if we hear a little bit from Sweden as far as on the women's side go. Then, of course, we have the gold medal game where the U.S. won that one against Canada as well, 2-1. This one, Canada actually scored first. It was looking a little bit nervous. I was nervous throughout this entire game. We talked about that. I at least mentioned that I didn't think that the U.S. could lose this game unless they didn't play well. And I don't think that they played badly at all. It's just Canada played their best game, which I knew that they were going to. I knew it was not going to be as easy as that 5-0 game was. Canada's got the 1-0 lead all the way into the third period. We're about 2 minutes left to go. U.S. pulls their goaltender, and then it's kind of neat. Like, talk about these moments. There's pictures of Layla Edwards at 14 years old with Hilary Knight, and now here they are on the same Olympic team. Layla Edwards, who had an amazing tournament with I think it ended up being 2 goals, 8 assists. The faceoffs went back to her. She goes over, skates over, finds a nice little lane, takes a shot on goal, and the old vet, Hilary Knight, tips it in for the game-tying goal and to get us into the overtime, which was intense as always, because this was also 3-on-3 on the ladies' side as well. And it just, Megan Keller goes in, gets a great pass. I meant to look up who sent the pass up the ice, but it's a beautiful pass catch in Canada on an attempt at a line change. And then she makes that move where she dekes the puck in between the defender's legs, goes back, gets it on the other side, and then puts the puck 5-hole to win the game for Team USA. And this USA women's team just was an incredible run. They end up outscoring their opponents 34-2 for the entire tournament. They beat Canada 7 times in a row going into this game, but just hadn't won they hadn't gotten the gold medal, and then they finally do it. And I was so proud of these young ladies, because these young ladies are just they're just talking about another group of team that's just fun to watch, and they were fun to watch this entire tournament, just watching them, and seeing how they got along so well with each other. So, Scooter, what were your thoughts on the women's side?
Yeah, I mean, both of the goalies for Canada and US were just absolutely amazing in that game. And that Keller goal was a sick goal. That was like NHL style goal right there. And I just thought the women were, they showed the world how great they are, and they're kind of like the soccer equivalent. I mean, who's going to beat the US right now? Nobody.
Yeah, I think, and I know Anthony has asked about this a lot of times too, like about the USA training program. And I think on the women's side, you definitely have seen where that has helped. Plus, women's college hockey, thanks to Title IX, is just taking off in a lot of these towns. And you're seeing that development, especially come out. And the fact that you've got the PWHL up and running, I think really does help as well for the women's side of this thing. It's just, the sky is the limits for a lot of these things here. Let's see here. Anthony, let's bring up this one here. What are your opinions on Olympic hockey fans saying that both overtime games should have been 5-on-5? I'll go first, Scooter. I personally, yes, would I love to see the overtimes be 5-on-5? Absolutely. I think they wanted to be consistent with both the women and the guys. And the bottom line is for the guys, you had the closing ceremony scheduled. I don't think they could take the chance necessarily of doing a 5-on-5 overtime and having one of these triple, quadruple overtime games that we would love and come the Stanley Cup playoffs. I just don't think they could take the chance of that because there was the closing ceremonies and you have flights to book for people. Like people got to get the hell out of there. And you know, the NHL, I think the NHL still wanted to know, okay, they're going to be done. Whoever's in the gold medal game is going to be done because the NHL does start up on Wednesday. We'll get into that a little bit later on as well. So that's my personal opinion. Would I love it to be 5-on-5? Yes. Do I get why they did it 3-on-3? Yes.
I mean, the 5-on-5 would be perfectly acceptable because you can do the 5-on-5 for 20 minutes, and then you can have the shootout. That's how it would do. I mean, they do shootouts, okay, in international. So I get it. There's not going to be another overtime. So they definitely could have done it. 5-on-5 is a lot better than 3-on-3. I get why everyone's upset. And then it was like 3-on-3 for 20 minutes. Like that's never going to go.
Yeah, you knew, especially on the men's side, it wasn't going to go 20 minutes, and it didn't. I mean, you know, we'll get to the men's side here in a second, but even on the ladies' side, I think it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
Both teams had amazing chances on it. I think if anything, I would love to maybe you do 5-on-5 for the first overtime, and then you know if they can't do it after 20 minutes, maybe the second overtime's 3-on-3. You know, because then that way, or 4-on-4 even, and then you get to third overtime. Okay, now we're going to go 3-on-3. Like maybe that's the solution in there.
I mean, they've always done shootouts, though. You know, they've always done shootouts at the end of overtime. So,
Yep,
in
I agree.
in the international and the Olympics, so you would have to do the shoot. It's just a tradition.
Vic, you're saying, technical difficulties. Is that on our side? Do we have an issue with something or not? I don't know. Let's see
I
here.
hear
Oh,
you.
back on. I don't know. Maybe, maybe we were lost somewhere. So I don't know. It seems like we're at least on YouTube anyway.
Thanks, Vic.
How embarrassing is it for Canada? The hockey is our mainstream sport, and they lost a country that necessarily doesn't send its elite athletes to the sport. I'm sure there's some people upset with Canada. I think where's your other comment here that you had about the ladies' side of it? Where did you put that one here? There's a lot of them in here. I'll get to that one here too. Oh, yeah, there it is. So it talked about them being obsessed with sending their players. I do think that came into play in this one, because I think Canada basically sent the almost the same exact team as they had from 2018. You didn't see that really on the girls' side or on the men's side, or excuse me, on the U.S. side. We sent 7 that were that are still in college. I think that youth definitely helped. We'll see. I mean, Canada's got options. I'm not worried about Canadian hockey. They've got plenty of options on the women's side still moving forward. They're going to be fine. A lot of their younger players are there. I get it. You know, they won 2 gold medals with this team. They wanted to run them back again for a third time. Look, and it almost worked. It's they lost and they played really well that gold medal game. Like that team could have gone either way for sure.
Well, I mean, the U.S. men's basketball team hasn't always won every Olympics either. So
That's true. I will read your comment about combined once we get through the men's stuff, Anthony. I promise you. And then NBC, like, look, we talked about the ratings. This game, and keep in mind because the way that the Olympic schedule worked, you had the figure skating that kind of started at the same time, so they were showing that live on NBC because, and people, I heard some of my hockey friends why they got this game like. The main event of every Olympics is the women's free skate. Always has been, always will be. That was going to get the NBC coverage. It draws sick, crazy numbers. I'm sure that combined between the free skate and the number for NBC for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they were probably really, really happy with. But they got 7.7 million watched it between USA Network and the Peacock app. That's the most watched women's game ever. So let's take it. Let's run with it. Let's hope that this is, we talked about the 4 Nations boost. Let's see what this Olympics boost goes. It's a little bit harder for women's hockey. I'll try to help you out on some ways that you can watch it, but it is a little bit harder to catch the PWHL if you want to see some of these great athletes.
Yeah, I was talking to my stepmom while we were watching the game yesterday in the morning, and we were talking about the men's and women's, and the whole thing was like, well, and she was talking about like 1980 when they were all amateurs, and it's like, well, there is the difference because the women, they got to go back to their training and do whatever it is that they do, maybe the women's professional league and everything, but there's not everyone's going to go be doing all that stuff. And the men, they just go back to their $3 to $4 to $5 million a year hockey club in like Nashville or Tampa,
Yep.
So the men aren't worried. The women,
No.
they have other things to think about.
I agree. And with that, that's a perfect segue. So let's start with the bronze medal game here on this side. No surprise here. Finland just destroyed Slovakia 6-1. Slovakia was probably the cute little story until they got to where they had to face the U.S. and Finland. Just didn't go well for them against those two teams. And they just, they've got a great player in Yuri Slafkovsky who had another amazing tournament, but that's really it as far as NHL talent goes on that team. They got some other guys too, but and they got some guys that are in the AHL, but they just didn't match up to the rosters of the U.S. and the Finns, and that's what clearly showed. So Finland, who I honestly feel like had a really disappointing tournament, there's just too many games where they just took shifts off. Like they were my pick to win it all. And look, I mean, they still played Canada tough. It's a 1-goal game, but they got dominated the second, third period against Canada. So they lost that one. And of course, let's get into it. The U.S. defeat of Canada 2-1 in overtime. I'll start with this. Connor Hellebuyck has officially erased all of his demons. I've been one that has bashed him about his play in the playoffs. And the Four Nations, he was good. He wasn't great, but he was good. We don't win this game yesterday without Connor Hellebuyck because let's be honest, Canada dominated most of this game. They definitely had the better scoring opportunities. If not for Connor Hellebuyck, we don't win this game. I'll start it with that. Scooter, let me turn over to you. Let you get some thoughts out there.
Well, first Slovakia, they were my kind of going into the tournament. They were my team to watch. They were the one I thought would come out to surprise the team, and I'm glad it did because I think they have a good team. And plus, they have Martin Ferrovari, but of the Caps. But
yes.
Yeah, regarding Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's got 3 Vezinas. He's got a heart. It hasn't been great in the playoffs. Now, the gold medal is not going to get him into the professional Hall of Fame. It certainly doesn't hurt to have that with you. But this is a huge deal. He's an excellent goalie, and you would like to see it kind of change. But it is funny because he's playing for Winnipeg on Team USA.
And Canadian fans are going to be pissed because let's be honest, in Winnipeg, he's had some dogs when it's in the playoffs. And so now he goes off for Team USA and beats Canada. It's going to be very interesting to hear what his reaction is going to be with the home crowd. Because they do the little and winners of whoever who on their team that wins the medal. That's going to be one of those reactions. I want to see how the Winnipeg crowd greets him winning the gold medal. That's going to be very interesting to me to see how that comes off in there for sure. So I
bet they welcome him with open arms.
We'll see. I don't know if I always trust them. So I do also want to mention the goal by Matt Boldy. The first goal. That's an incredible play. I was tempted to pull it up and try to show it on here, but I think then we'd be in jail, Facebook jail and YouTube jail, and then no one can watch the show. So I didn't do it, but just go to YouTube, put it in the first goal. He flips the puck up in the air over the stick of 2 really good defenders in Cale Makar and Jonathan Toews, both who play for the Colorado Avalanche. Gets by them now. Why they didn't just cut him off, I don't know. It wouldn't have been interference. All they would have had to do is just squeeze the lane on him, but they didn't. He gets in between them and then puts the puck 5-hole. But the flip up in the air and splitting them was just a really, really pretty play.
I mean, he flips it up in the air and then he tips it again.
Yeah,
it was just. I mean, come on, that was awesome. I love that, and I'm just like, woo! And I obviously Eddie Olczyk loved it too. So yeah, I mean, he
did.
Just went ballistically, totally impressed on that.
And it should, because it was just an incredible play. And then the goal by Jack Hughes, equally impressive, not just because of the way that the play happens. And again, the overtime only took 1 minute and 42 seconds, I think it was, but they're down in the defensive zone. Connor McDavid is coming in on a hard break, and it's a good defensive play. And then they get the puck turned over, but U.S. almost turns over the puck, and you almost had Connor McDavid and McKinnon going in on a 2-on-0. The puck somehow gets just barely by McKinnon, gets down into the zone, and then the pass is made over to Hughes, and he just buries the shot for the game winner. But who knows? I mean, like 3 inches and that puck stays in the zone, and Canada's going in on a 2-on-0 break with arguably the 2 best goal scorers in the game right now. Like this game could have gone so many different ways for Team USA. I'm ecstatic that they won this game, but it was just, it just was something where it just could have been the other way.
I thought we saw that goal with the tip goal, which was awesome, and then we saw Connor Hellebuyck's kind of Braden Holtby-esque save. I mean, that is one of the great saves of Olympic history.
Well, oh wait, hold on. All right, hold on. You mean this save right here?
Oh my God, that's the save.
That's the save. Yeah, and so this is perfect timing for me, Anthony, because you had this bad boy in here way before the save. Is this paddle save that Connor had on the defenseman for the Team Canada, where he has to go complete to stop the shot? Is it one of the greatest saves? Yes, it is. I don't care what level. Like, Boss Man asked me about when the girls' goal, where that would rate in top 5, and I think for top 5 goals, you have to have 2 categories. There's meaningful goals, and then there's pretty goals. Like Micah Ruzioni is always going to be number 1 because that's the goal. That is the goal. It defeated the Russians in 1980, but it's not the prettiest goal, right? Like, I mean, it's just basically a snapshot, but the meaning of that goal, like nothing is going to beat that. If we did best saves, I can't think of one better than this. Maybe the Holtby one. There's one that Cam Ward made against Edmonton, in a game 7 where he gets the pad all the way across for winning that. But this one's right up there. If it's not the top, it's in my top 5 of best saves all time. If you go with meaningful saves, it could be number 1.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to think of it this way too. Okay, so if Nathan McKinnon doesn't shoot like a Star Wars stormtrooper, that the game could be done.
Yeah, that's true too.
He wide open that, and
he did.
Hellebuyck was not even close to it. And it was just like, whoa, like I can't believe you just missed that. That should be on a goal.
Yeah, I agree. And then this was another one from her combined. The men's and women's team outscored their opponents 17-15. Yeah, they had great tournaments. Now, look, I mean, the women's team, but then we talked about this before in the last show too that we did, where it's kind of I really thought that maybe somebody would start to challenge the U.S. and Canada on the women's side. They're not. There's just nobody that's in another country right now that's in competition. The men's side, they did have an easier draw, but they earned that easier draw by how well they played in the World Championships. So they got Latvia, they got Denmark, and they got Germany. And then they maybe they had the tough game against Sweden in the quarters, which again another game that could have gone either way. Hellebuyck had a great save there in that game too, which kind of gets me back to this point. They named the tournament MVP, and that was somehow Connor McDavid. Now, don't get me wrong. McDavid had a great tournament. I think he had 3 goals, 7 assists. He led the tournament in points. But how the hell is Connor Hellebuyck not the tournament MVP? I have no clue. Like, the U.S. does not win gold medal without Connor Hellebuyck. Team Canada wins the silver medal without Connor McDavid. Like, to me, that's the difference, So I am baffled by this one, and it's nothing against Connor McDavid. He's the best player in the NHL right now today by a mile, but he was not the tournament MVP.
And to go back real quick to the goal score, the goal differential thing, we have to remember there's that aggregate thing that goes on. So there's a lot of teams trying to jump up the score to make it like 8-1, so they can get that whole thing before you get into the tournament portion. But yeah, I mean, Connor McDavid, it was like a historic amount of goals and assists and points that he had in a. So does he deserve it? He deserves it. Should it go to Hellebuyck? Probably should have gone to Hellebuyck. Yeah. But I'm not upset. I guarantee Conor McGregor, Hellebuyck is like, I got a gold medal.
Yeah,
I don't care about an MVP trophy.
He's probably
that doesn't make sense anyways.
Vic Canada speed gave US fits, but they just couldn't finish shots. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that there's definitely something to that. I mean, and I will give the US defense credit. They did a lot of bending and not breaking. There are a lot of plays that Canada almost had, but Slavin would get a stick on it, or Quinn Hughes would get a stick on it. The D was just there, just in time. But yeah, the speed of Canada definitely was there, and their D played really well too. We talked about Canada's D maybe not being up to the US D, but their D played phenomenal that entire game. Let's see here. That's crazy saves that the Dominator had. Yeah, well, the Dominator back in the day had some crazy saves for sure. Chip putting in was the rest fall. And look, it's funny because right after this game, and for those that don't know, there was a missed too many men call. The U.S. had 7 guys on the ice. Whether or not the one guy that was coming, and usually the way that call works is that because there's always line changes where the puck's around the bench, as long as the guy is not coming off the bench or that is plays the puck, or the guy that's going to the bench isn't playing the puck, you usually can get away with it. And I had 2 semifinal games, after this game was over with, and us officials were talking about that call. Would we have been able to make the call? I said probably would have, because to me, I think it was that. A couple guys were like, yeah, but if you look really closely, it's not the guy that's actually on the ice that's coming off the bench that touches the puck. It was someone on the ice. I'm like, okay, maybe. And with the situation, maybe, but yeah, I wouldn't have had any problems to call it, but going back to this roster, I'm not sure that would have really mattered. Team USA killed 18 for 18 for penalties. And look, I was one that was a little bit concerning about why is JT Miller on this team and Vincent Trocheck. The reason why they were on this team was for their penalty kill, and they were lights out. Because we don't win, we killed a 5-on-3 in this game. And they had 1 shot on goal during the 5-on-3. Like, it was an incredible PK on the 5-on-3 that they had. A lot of that is because of JT Miller and Vinny Trocheck. So hey, tip of the cap to Bill Karen. I will fully openly admit that I was wrong. I didn't get at the beginning why you don't have a Robertson or some of the defensemen from the Montreal Canadiens, that didn't make this team, but now I get it. You wanted a full-on team. You needed guys that could kill the PK, and that's what he had.
Yeah, and he also had probably a very good night last night, according to his reading of his lips, as what he was going to do last night. But Connor McDavid, it's interesting. He he is a Conn Smythe Trophy winner too on a losing team, so he's great on teams that lose in the finals. So it kind of like, if you're Connor McDavid, you're the best hockey player in the world, and like, you get to these finals and you lose, and you're still the best player. So I feel bad for him. But Canada, I wanted to say that Makar was unbelievable yesterday. And like, before he scored the goal, he's always on the ice for Canada, and then he scored the goal. But I mean, the dude was always on the ice, and it wound up 2-1. So there's something about that. And he's a great offensive player, but he's obviously a phenomenal defensive player. And I'd love to have him on my team, but he's probably going to win a cup this year out there.
Well, we'll see. That's that's the point that Anthony, I kind of feel bad for Connor. He's probably going to be the greatest player in NHL history that might not win a Stanley Cup or a gold medal. We'll see. I think Connor McDavid's going to get another shot in 4 years to win gold for sure. Who knows what Edmonton's going to do? That team always baffles me in the regular season, but they're going to get in, one way or the other. And then this is a really good question that he brings up. Since you grew up with Miracle on Ice team, which performance do I think was better, Connor Hellebuyck last night or Jim Craig over the Russians? I know my answer, Scooter. I'll let you go first, or do you need time to think about it?
I mean, Jim Craig was like a 20. I mean, he wasn't that old. He wasn't a professional, if you will, because none of them were. And they were taking on, like, basically professional teams that weren't exactly professional. The Soviets were like a professional team.
They were.
Sweden, they were like a professional team, because there were, in 1980, there weren't a lot of Swedes in the NHL and the just ended WHA. There weren't a lot of Swedes out there either, but the Swedes are always great. So they had to play really good teams, and Jim Craig had to play some of the best non-NHLers in the world.
Yeah, I think
with a non-NHL defensive front.
Correct. I think if you look back and watching both games, some of the saves that Jim Craig made, just the styles back then are are completely different. But B, the equipment is different. What he's making saves with is crazy when you look at like the equipment that Hellebuyck's got on. So personally, I'm probably going Craig first, but I will admit that's probably some age bias. And so far I've only watched this game one time, the game that just happened yesterday. Give me a few times to watch it again. My opinions might change on that. I'll say this: that's the best save I've ever seen in the Olympics, but the best overall performance I probably would still give to Jim Craig. I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
I
the way
mean,
I'm going.
Hellebuyck was out of. There were a few times where he lucked out, like I mentioned one earlier. I mean, there were a few times he's a little bit out of sort, and the puck just didn't go in the net. So, which
Yep.
happens to every goal.
One more real quick. Yeah, the Kachucks and the Hughes brothers are going to be a part of this team for quite a bit of time, and that is correct. Real quick here too, Matt and Brady, great penalty killers. 100% agree. Yeah, this is the look. We could go on here, but they really want us off in an hour. I think we're going to go a little bit over an hour just because I do want to do some quick NHL stuff here too. I know there's probably some political side of this that we could get into with invites to different things. I was maybe going to get into it. We just honestly don't have time to it, and it probably honestly isn't the right spot for it. So the one thing I will say for this, I want to put this kind of maybe as the bow for the Olympics. For 2 weeks, it was really great just to focus on the athletes and just focus on players doing well, representing their country. I love that. Maybe it's what we needed to get back into it, but judging from what I've seen already back out there on social media today, maybe it didn't help at all. Maybe it's just me being really, really super optimistic. So I'll leave at that. Scooter, any last thoughts on the Olympics before we just tie this all up with a bow to get to some quick NHL hits?
Well, it was a fun time. Yeah, I always think of anytime I see the Olympics, I always think of my childhood sitting there in front of the TV in the 80s, 84, 88, 92, 1980. That the ones I remember of the men's and of winter and summer games. Think of places like Sarajevo, which is like a ghost town now, at least where their Olympic they had the Olympics. So I mean, a lot of different memories that came into play, and think of different players or athletes, Alberto Tomba, Eric Heiden, all these great, Apollo Anton Ono, all these guys, and there's, plenty of women out there too that have, been out there, done a great job over the
Yep.
52 years that I've been around.
I agree. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a real quick break. Then we'll come back. We'll wrap it up with some quick NHL hits, getting ready to, and then we'll wrap this thing up here with a pretty bow. But we'll be right back. All right, so we are back, and let's do this here real quick. So, real quick, PWHA play, they start back up on Thursday. Each team plays 30 games. This is kind of where they're at. Just thought it'd be fun to throw up their standings. They're about halfway through the season. The Minnesota Frost is the defending two-time champs. These games are not as easy to see, ladies and gentlemen. If you have ESPN Plus, you might be able to catch a few games. They do have some games coming up on Amazon Prime, YouTube. If you go to the PWHL YouTube channel, you can see some games there. But most of them are on the Canadian networks, TSN. It carries a lot of the games, so it's a little bit harder to see live. But they are out there. I'll be very curious to see. I've already heard of 3 different teams that saw a 40% increase in ticket sales after the gold medal game, because these rosters are filled with U.S. and Canadian players. I hope that they get the boost that they deserve.
I know up in my neck of the woods, Philadelphia is looking. They're probably going to get a PWHL team up there too, because there's a lot of people who want it in Philly. So you should probably be. We'll probably be hearing about that. And they're also talking about like, oh, what should we name them? So we'll see.
Yep. The NHL side, they start back up on Wednesday. The roster freeze is back over with. The NHL trade deadline is Friday, March 6th. So this is going to move very, very quick from when these guys start playing games again until we start seeing. There's some agent talk out there that there's already a lot of deals that were kind of in place. They just couldn't get finalized before the roster freeze. So we'll see, who makes moves. real quick, this is just a real quick reminder of where we're at in the standings right now. Tampa Bay, Montreal, Detroit, Carolina, Pittsburgh, the Islanders, Buffalo, and Boston would be your teams in. Teams out, but only 4 points back are Columbus and Washington. A little bit further back is Ottawa, Toronto, and then you got Philly and Florida. Florida is my team that's going to be real interesting. I think that can Bill Zito make a move? Yes. My gut's going to be, I think he's going to use these first 2 or 3 games after the break to see what happens. I think they've got to win them. They got to go on a run. And then I think you'll see Bill Zito not be afraid to make a move to add talent. I could also see him just saying, hey, we've had a good run for 3 years. This team maybe could use a little bit of a break, and just see what happens and then reload for next year. That wouldn't surprise me either. Florida is the team that's going to be very, and watch out for Columbus. They were 9, this was a team that was 9-1 going into this break. How do they come out of the break? Like, they were playing great hockey. Can they keep that going and keep themselves in the mix?
Yeah, good old Rick Bowness taking care of business out there in Columbus. But if you watch the NFL Red Zone, this is the NHL equivalent for the season of the witching hour, because you got teams that are in the playoffs right now, teams that are high in the playoffs. Some of them aren't going to make it. There's some teams down there low on that list. They're going to make the playoffs. So trust me.
Oh my God.
Florida can make it.
I just mentioned Columbus, so I have to do this. I'm sorry. I totally forgot to mention, and I had it on my notes and everything, but we got going just on the safe. The Johnny Gaudreau, and his kids. Let's go circle back to that real quick, because I totally meant to bring that up, and I thought of Columbus. That made me think of Zach Werenski, and Gaudreau played for Columbus before that tragic incident. A shout out to the men's team. What they did during the whole thing where they're skating around his jersey, and then they bring out those 2 little kids. I'm already starting to cry, so I'm going to leave it at that, because Midnight Rider and we were joking a lot about it's a good thing we're cutting onions during that little skate, and when they brought those kids for the picture. But the fact that these guys on this team have never forgotten Johnny Gaudreau. Every time that Zach Werenski has played in a tournament, he's had his jersey in the locker room. He definitely would have been a part of this team. They invited this family there for the semifinals and the finals, watching Johnny Gaudreau's dad up in the stands tear up. Like, that's what this shit's about. That's what sports is about. So sorry, I meant to bring that up during the hockey part, during that part, and I totally forgot. And when I said Columbus, but that needed to be said. So tip of the cap to them and how they handle that.
Yeah, a feel-good story for a tragedy that never should have occurred in the first place. If you're not familiar with the tragedy, look it up. I'm not going to get into it, but it is horrendous. It affected a lot of people, and one individual should go to jail for a long time. Let's just put it in.
Yeah. So my bad. I totally derailed this segment, but I meant to bring that up, and it needed to be brought up because it probably was the best heartfelt moment of the entire Olympics is watching. And that little girl had such a cute little smile on her face. Like, oh, just loved it. Okay. So I wanted to get that in before I forgot. But yeah, so this is going to be the fun on the East side for sure, guys. Like, it's going to be a crazy wild ride. And you thought the schedule was compact going into the Olympic break. Like like these 30 games are going to come up quick. You got a lot of back-to-backs. You got a lot of 3 and 4 nights. I think most of these teams before the trade deadline play 3 or 4 games in a span of basically 8 days. So, or a little less than 2 weeks. So I think, it's going to be crazy how this takes off, guys. So we'll see. I know, Anthony, I know you're a big Florida guy. I don't know what they're going to do. Bill Zito has the ability to make moves. I don't know where he thinks his team's at, because they didn't play well going into the break. So I think he probably wants to see them come up. But it's hard when you're sitting there at 61 points and you've got this many teams to climb, because not only do you have to play well, you need all those teams to play a little less well to catch. And that's hard. Like, if there's just one team and you're 4 or 5 points out, I could see him going for it. But it's a lot of teams that they got to climb over for Florida.
And for Florida, and I just want to say this real quick that I was watching MLB Network, and they had the Marlins playing the Cardinals at Roger Dean Stadium in beautiful Jupiter, Florida. So I just wanted to do that quick shout out.
Love it. All right. So then on the west side, Colorado's lead shrinking in the Central Division, but those 3 teams are still by far and away the top. They would beat every team in the Pacific. We talked about Edmonton. They're currently in second in the Pacific Division. they should definitely get in, but the wild card teams aren't that far behind them at 63 points. LA is next at 60, so it's not quite there yet. LA is going to be interesting because they had a couple really bad injuries. The Fowler injury really hurts them for moving forward. So we'll see what LA does. They made some good moves, I thought, to get ready for it, but then they had the injuries in the injuries in the Olympics. Just that team probably got hurt the most from the injury bug. We'll see. Sidney Crosby's out for Pittsburgh, but sounds like I think he'll be ready to go come Wednesday night. But San Jose with Celebrini Macklin, who had an amazing Olympics. What do? They're not that far out of it either. But the Wild Pacific, first through 1 through 6, is separated by only 10 points in that Pacific division. So that is going to be fun to watch. And this is where I think you're going to see some trades made or teams moving in or out in the West.
Man, I would pay money to see a Utah-Seattle conference championship game. How about you? That sounds awesome to me. Two of the, who knew these teams aren't even around? So, but they can both make the playoffs this year. So good for them. It should be real exciting there. I mean, the Central's been done for a while, as we like to say it. I don't see any of those three teams falling out of that area, but
Nope.
But it should be fun to see this some of these teams that are right there in the hunt.
I agree. So that's where we're at. Like I said, just a real quick little snippet and look into the things, because I know Boss Man's going to be mad at me for going over, but I really tried. I really tried to keep this at an hour, but come on, it's been 46 years since we won a gold medal, Boss Man. Like, come on, like just understand, just please understand. Like, I had to go a little bit over. There's just too much to talk about in that game. So hopefully he'll be understanding. But next show, it's finally here, folks. March 2nd, I'm going to do my little expose on legalized gambling. Be on the lookout on our Facebook page. I had these poll questions up from when I first was going to do the show, but I can't find them because so much stuff has been posted by people. So if you go to the Sideline Junkies podcast network, I'm going to put them up again. Plus, it was a while back. So I'm going to put up some poll questions. It's going to be part of the show. So watch for that here later tonight when I get them up. And if you can, please partake in that. That's going to be on March 2nd. Then on Friday, March 6th, we're going to have our special trade deadline show. We'll be on again at 5 o'clock. We'll go over all the trades that happen. If we have any that happen before March 2nd, we'll break the March 6th show for what happens in between the 2nd and 6th, which I think will be pretty busy. And hey, I'm on March 23rd with whatever amount of guys and gal with Showtime Sarah. So Anthony, I'm fully expecting you to make the pick for the Miami Dolphins next year for sure. We'll get into that here. Let's see here. Chip says Binnington and Falk both get traded for first-round picks. Yeah, maybe St. Louis.
That would be good.
I'm sure the price for Binnington definitely increased because he had a good tournament too. He and he always shows up in the playoffs. So that's a good one for sure. So that's the shows coming up. Of course, as we mentioned at the beginning, you can watch us on YouTube anytime you want and on Facebook. And of course, you know where to listen to us here too. So please, we thank you for your support of the show. It's crazy to think I've already been doing this for over a year now. It really is. Like, I just love it so much. And it's just, and Scooter, I appreciate you being along with me along this journey. It's been fun having somebody else to do it. And of course, my daughter, Showtime Sarah, she's being a good girl today and working, so her real job and not being on here, so we'll forgive her. So here's some of the shows that we got on this amazing network. Pretenders and Contenders are off tonight, so they are not on live tonight. They'll probably show one of the feeds from one of the past shows, but a great look into the local high school network. And the Gentleman Jack and these guys, I think they'll probably, I'm not sure, they brought up I think a little bit on Sunday. I'm sure it'll come up more this week. They went to like one of the local wrestling tournaments and they did some interviews with some of these athletes. It's just really, really good stuff that goes on a lot of our shows. So there are the shows for you to check us out. So we always appreciate your time and you guys being on here with us. Scooter, any last second thoughts before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I'll just say that the NASCAR race yesterday in Atlanta was really exciting. It was only like 40 degrees, so it was really cold. At the end, it went down. There was overtime, and Tyler Reddick won again. He won the Daytona 500 last week. He won this. This is only the 5th time in NASCAR history where a racer won the Daytona 500 in the next race. And so our good pal Michael Jordan, he's 2-0 right now in the NASCAR season. It's unbelievable. And Tyler and his teammate Bubba Wallace, he did another top 10 and for the second week in a row, and he complained and whined about it, which is typical, unfortunately, for Bubba. There we go.
Yeah, I like that. So, all right. I don't really have much to add other than, I appreciate you guys with the love for the Olympics and stuff like that, and letting me do that. Like, I think the one thing that's so cool about the Sideline Junkies Network, like, you have something for everybody. You like basketball, you got nothing but net. You love football, like we cover football like nobody else does. Gentleman Jack's got his top 10 that he does for college basketball every show. And I try to dive into the basketball every now and then, but I know my lane and I'm going to stick with my lane. But we'll probably get into some college basketball here now too, that we got a little bit of time. So but we just we appreciate all the love that you guys give us. So keep checking us out, and we'll keep trying to do this fun stuff for you. But again, as I began the show, just remember, tell your loved ones that you love them. Make sure you hug them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. There's examples of that every day in life. So just please, please, please do that. Make sure you tell everyone that you love them, and if you think that one of your loved ones need help, please help them get it. Don't mock them. Don't say, "Oh no, you'll be fine." Help people that need help. Like, let's just be kind to everybody. There's enough bullshit going on out in this world right now. It's time for us to just be kind and love everyone. So I'll end it with that. And until next show, everyone, just have fun, and we'll see you guys later. Oh boy, yeah, time to end the show.
Evo.
Whip it good, dude.
Whip it.